Oh, University of Pennsylvania, along with a lot of other universities across the nation, have been issuing therapy dogs, giving puppy dogs to university students, as well as coloring books in this particular case, because they are distraught over the election results. They canceled classes and turned the classrooms into safe spaces so they can all talk about their feelings. These are what the press have been calling the Millennials. Millennials are baby boomer incubated biodome social experiments, basically. The baby boomers had made sure that the next generation will be able to clean the air, clean the oceans, and cure cancer and lead us all into utopia because they were convinced that all crime and all war was caused by a low self-esteem. So therefore, if we raise an entire generation of people who all have a high self-esteem and are scientifically, perfectly, psychologically raised, then in that case we will have no more crime, no more war, and we can live in utopia, in a global utopia, basically. So everything was emphasized with self-esteem. Child psychology was used, and everything was padded for them, and basically their lives were padded. People started putting baby on board on their minivans, and all of a sudden having a child was the most important person that other people should think about you, and they'll be really careful driving when they see baby on board. I was going to hit you with my car, but now that I see the baby on board, this started in the early 80s, I changed my mind. Thank you for putting that sign in the window. They were treated very softly, like special, delicate scientific experiments, and that's really what a lot of it is. It is a social experiment for an entire generation to very systematically raise them up in the school system. Hillary said at one time it takes a village to raise children. That means it doesn't matter what your parents' values are. If your parents had different values than what the school was offering, the parents are bad, and they'll make sure they tell you that. And it doesn't matter if you read well, write well, they don't mark with red ink on your paper. That causes a low self-esteem. Your parents shouldn't tell you no about anything that is a negative word that causes a low self-esteem, and we can't have our utopia if you're raised with a low self-esteem. Well, there's still crime out there, isn't there? I'm not sure how well this experiment worked, but if you were watching this and you were born between the years of about 1982 to about 2000, and this does not describe you, then what you should do is to feel embarrassed for your peers and to go and kick them in the butt and tell them to grow up. Colleges are giving out what? Puppy dogs, coloring books, what? Beanies and blankets, a cookie, wiping their tears. These are grown adults, or at least they're supposed to be grown adults. They vote. I guess they can join the military, and believe me, when I was in the Navy, there was a few of them. They're expected to lead the world into utopia and clean the mess of previous generations. They took great care to make sure that they don't turn out like us, basically, the big disappointment. See, they tried to shove their values down the throats of so-called Xers, and it didn't work out the way they wanted it to. So they took extra care with the next batch. Parents that keep their kid in diapers for years because they don't want the trauma of toilet training, or coo after them real too much when they fall down in the grass and they're not hurt at all. They turn them into people who are, or kids who are, don't grow up, basically, or don't become independent. And that can start with the diapers and the getting themselves back up from the grass after they fall down without crying. It starts there. A lot of parents who do this and try to overprotect them from all the evils of the world, such as falling down, skinning their knee, feeling sad, these are all parts of life. and you will keep them from being too independent. A lot of these parents themselves are not emotionally stable, and they want them to stay dependent, and that is very similar to the way the government wants you to stay dependent, or at least the social system, the liberal social system that has raised these village, some of them millennials, I guess. That's what the press has been calling them. And I guess that's what some of them call themselves. That go to these colleges and they need their safe space. Well, that teaching them all their lives to basically trust these caregivers, the government, the system, the school system, give them all your trust, and they are all knowing, all wise big brother that keeps you from becoming independent. And one thing liberals hate is an independent thinker. They don't like it when somebody thinks independently of what is people try to shove down your throat. Now, if you're in the school system, you probably know this very well. Do you ever feel like a social experiment? Do you ever feel like a psychological vehicle hamster of some sort instead of a human being? This whole Common Core is even more of this. It's like this entire movement on steroids. It just keeps getting more and more that way.